Football derived from the English game of rugby, but American football was started in 1879. Walter Camp helped institute the rules on October 20th, 1873, along with a number of representatives from Yale, Columbia, Princeton, and Rutgers. Before these rules, each school had its own set of rules, and the games were played based on the home team's set of rules. Camp played football at Yale and helped evolve the rules from rugby and soccer to more of an American football as we know today. The meeting that took place October 20th, 1873, was led by Walter Camp. He and everyone else involved came up with the new rules, like changing the number of players from 15 to 11. They also came up with the size of the field, 110 yards. In 1882, Walter Camp introduced the system of downs, to get 5 yards in 3 plays. But in 1906, that changed to 4 plays to get 10 yards. Early American football was a very violent sport. This was caused by a lack of rules, regulations, and equipment. Through the development of football, the helmet was one of the biggest turning points in both football and sports in general. The helmet lowered the amount of injuries drastically. The invention of the helmet and the new rules are what kept the sport alive. The Chicago Tribune reported that in 1904, there were 18 football-caused deaths and 159 serious injuries such as wrenched spinal cords, crushed skulls, and broken ribs.
In an attempt to prevent fatal injuries in football, I have invented this new type football helmet, which I believe will do much to rid the game of fatalities.
The inventor sure has faith in his helmet, for he's going to try it out himself. And now watch him take it. Right on the old beam.
Get him again, boy. Get an aspirin tablet.
Oi, boys. Ha! Like my mother-in-law, isn't it?
The butting test.
Today, football is a far safer sport than it used to be back then. One of the problems in American football was racism. At first, a lot of teams would not even consider taking blacks onto their teams, especially in the South. But there were a few colleges that took black people. A lot of black people went to Michigan State because they chose players that were good, regardless of their skin color. Michigan State gave everyone a fair chance. For example, Bubba Smith was the number 1 overall pick in the 1967 draft as a defensive end. Football as a sport isn't necessarily a turning point in history, but a turning point in both entertainment and sports. Football was a famous sport that was made even more famous around the time of the TV. Before the TV, football was not made very public, other than a few newspapers. In the 1920s, both football and TV were gaining fame. So when football and TV collided, it was a perfect match. The NFL started to use the TV as a great tool with advertisement. When the NFL gained success from this in the 50s, the AFL started to use TV to lure athletes to the AFL, such as Alabama quarterback Joe Namath, by signing a $42 million television deal with NBC. The result of this was a merger agreement between the AFL and the NFL in 1966. Shortly after the merger agreement, the teams that were part of the NFL became known as the NFC, the AFC being one conference and the NFC being the other. These two conferences made up the new NFL. After this, they named the rivalry game between the two conferences the Super Bowl. The first Super Bowl was played January 15th, 1967, Packers versus the Chiefs. And now we are about to hit our 48th Super Bowl. At first, there were only 2 teams in the NFL, the Decatur Staleys and the Chicago Cardinals. Shortly after this, the Green Bay Packers joined the NFL, and now they are the league's oldest franchise that is in the same location. As the NFL went on, more and more teams joined both the NFC and the AFC. Now, we are up to 32 teams altogether. The NFL has come a long way from its beginning in 1922. Now the NFL is an entertainment icon along with being the world's biggest group of American football teams.